interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? A very happy Thursday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. You could be listening on the FM AM dial KSHP. Could be the Washington Press Network, the Occupy Democrats Network. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere, and we appreciate you being a part of the show. Boy, do we have a lot to get to today. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours. On a national front, some people are going to be very surprised to hear me say this, but Mike Johnson actually sounding like a leader when talking about Ukraine. Now, he might only be the House Speaker for the next week or so, but I appreciate his stance on Ukraine and why. We're going to play that audio for you a little bit later on in the show, but the Republican Party right now on a national front in shambles right now because it looks like Mike Johnson is going to be outed. And then we heard about this abortion ban, and it doesn't matter whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. Most people in this country, including Republicans, were against what Arizona did, and lawmakers, Republican-controlled Arizona House of Representatives failed to advance a repeal of this 160-year-old abortion ban, which I think most people would say doesn't make Republicans look good. Most Republicans, even Carrie Lake, is against what they're doing in Arizona, and they couldn't repeal it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on in the show. Now, I want to start with a local story, but it does make national news. Even though it's a story coming out of Las Vegas, it is a national news, and I'll get to my reasons why. The chairman of the Clark County Republican Party, his name is Jesse Law. You might have heard his name before on the national front, and the reason is because he's one of 6 Nevada Republicans accused of participating in this fake electorate scheme, and he was charged for falsely giving the state's electorate votes to former President Donald Trump in the 2020 elections. So he's one of 6 people already charged. That's a national story, and the Attorney General is going to come on to talk about that here in a few weeks. But now we've learned that Jesse Law has been charged with a domestic battery. He was arrested on Sunday. Why is this important? Well, first of all, anybody who's arrested for domestic violence, I believe the victim. I've always been that person. Shouldn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. This is the same man who kicked me out of a Republican event. This is the same guy, and this shouldn't be important, but it is. The same guy who's been anti-gay. He's anti-gay marriage. He believes being gay is a sin. He talks about God all the time. And I received images of Jesse Law that was circulating on social media. Not that I care if somebody is gay or straight, because anybody who knows me knows I'm pro-LGBT community. That's not who I am. But I received images yesterday of Jesse Law grinding up against and kissing a guy at EDC here in Las Vegas. Again, the word hypocrite comes to mind. So many people out there that are anti-gay, that are, anti-gay marriage, sometimes are people who are attracted to the same sex. By the way, nothing wrong with that, unless you're a hypocrite like Jesse Law. So this is a guy who allegedly was part of this fake electorate scheme. Charges were already been filed, and now he's been charged with domestic battery. He is the leader in Clark County here, the Republican Party. The leader. Oh, yeah, by the way, he's running for office. So I think it's really important to note, at least in my view, and we're showing images right now of Jesse Law at EDC. And I'm not showing these images because I think there's something wrong with homosexuality. I don't. I want people to live their life. If Jesse Law is attracted to men, if this guy's attracted to dudes, I don't care. Let him do whatever he wants. I'm pro do whatever the heck you want to do sexually, so long as it's not against the law. I don't care. The reason why I'm showing these images is because this is a guy who has been anti-gay. He's openly spoken about being gay is being a sin. It's a sin, and I'm against gay marriage. What does that say about you? But to me, the domestic violence stuff is far more serious, and it shouldn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Domestic violence is very, very serious. I've always taken it very, very seriously. To me, it's one of the worst things you can do to somebody. You put your hands on a woman, and it goes the other way as well. To be fair, there are women that have been, men that have been victims of domestic violence as well. It could absolutely go both ways. I'm not saying that only men do this. But I believe the victim here. We're going to learn more about this case, I'm sure. But I said to myself, I want to talk to somebody that knows Jesse Law very well. To me, this is a microcosm of the Republican Party today. I use the term hypocrite a lot. A lot of people there that call themselves ultra-religious. A lot of people out there that claim that they are alt-right Christians. Well, they'll support a guy who is a liable rapist, right? People out there that, will attack Joe Biden. They'll talk about abortion. Well, then why are you against every governmental program that would help a woman raise that child? And if you're going to talk about domestic violence, and you should be, because it's a very serious topic to talk about and it's terrible, then why would you support a guy who's seen on video doing some of these things? And so again, I said to myself yesterday, while it's a local story, it's also a national story, because I use the term hypocrite a lot in politics, but this story shouldn't be about politics. It should be about right and wrong. We want decent people, at least I do. I want decent people representing me. Doesn't matter whether you have an R next to your name. Shouldn't matter whether you have a D next to your name. I want decent individuals that don't put their hands on women and are not hypocrites. So I said to myself, okay, who do I know that really knows Jesse Law really well? Well, I spoke to a few people yesterday. Some didn't want to talk about it on air, but I spoke to them off the air. And then I contacted a woman who's been on this show before. Her name is Britney Sheen. She is a local Republican. She's a writer for redstate.com. She's been on this show before, but I didn't want her to come on the show to talk about politics. I wanted to have her to come on this show to talk about things outside of politics, in this case, Jesse Law. Now, she helped Jesse Law, to give you a little bit of background, she helped Jesse Law get elected to the Clark County GOP chair back in 2021. Also important to note, she had a personal relationship with Jesse Law, and she has posted videos of Jesse Law, and I would consider it, or at least I would characterize it, as some sort of attack, so to speak, but I'll let her talk a little bit about that. So joining me right now, Britney Sheen. She is a former victim of domestic violence. We're having some audio issues here. She is a former victim of domestic violence and advocate certainly on this issue, so I definitely wanted to talk to her about that. Britney, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, which is a very difficult topic to talk about, but I appreciate you being here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry if there's some audio issue.
Oh, we're good now. That wasn't
okay.
your fault. That was on our end. Apologize for that. So, Britney, let me start off by asking you this question. What was your first reaction when you heard that Jesse Law got this domestic battery charge? What was your first reaction? What's the first thing you thought?
My first reaction was, I told you so, because I did. I spoke on this when he was up for re-election last July on why we needed better leadership in Clark County, based on my experiences with him. But I want to start with the broader issue of domestic violence, because that's why I agreed to do this show, is because we need to talk about it. It's not political, like you said. I didn't come here for political gotchas. What Las Vegas has experienced recently is Nicole Brown's killer just died. So R.I.P. Nicole. We had a family court fatal shooting last week. We had Dan Rodheimer, who during his congressional campaign, his wife had to come out and address 911 calls. He's now charged with murder. And we had the Tellis case, Robert Tellis, who also got a slap on the wrist for domestic violence, goes on to murder a journalist.
Right.
This is the context. And now we have this revelation coming out about Jesse.
Yeah.
So today is the day to talk about it. These are the experiences of our entire populace here in Las Vegas, what we've been drugged through. And very importantly, you know, Nicole Brown's case really affects me as a domestic violence victim because she didn't get justice. And there is a difference between California law and Nevada law. In California, they prosecute as a felony. So if you hear nothing else I say today, the reason I agreed to come on is to address my GOP leaders that I have some personal rapport with on this issue. And hear this: violent crime should be a felony every time. Your first hit isn't free, okay? We failed Nicole Brown collectively as a society. She called the police over and over and over and over again, okay?
I agree. Yeah.
And so the problem with domestic violence is it's a predictor of future behavior, and it escalates.
Yeah, I agree. And you know that better than anybody. And I agree with you. Nicole, if we're going to go to Nicole Brown Simpson, you're absolutely right. O.J. Simpson was a wife beater. Let's just call it for what it is. I mean, the 911 calls that we heard from Nicole are shilling. So I agree with you 150%. And I'm not saying this is your fault at all, but in a sense, do you regret helping Jesse Law get elected back in 2021? I would imagine you didn't know the stuff about him that you know now. Do you regret that at all?
There was a lot of other things going on at that time. So I don't regret getting him elected because there was other undesirable behaviors. You know what I'm saying? It's not like there was a good side and a bad side. It's more complex than that.
I understand.
No,
okay. I get it.
I did the right thing once I realized that we could have better leadership. I did the right thing, and I ran a campaign against him for his reelection.
Right. No, and I understand that. So you've posted videos. By the way, I still have yet to see it, but you have posted video when you were in a relationship with Jesse Law, who is the Clark County chair of the Republican Party. And explain to me, if you can, what is going on in that video back when you were in a relationship with this man, correct? Can you explain to us what is going on in that video, if you can, please?
Yeah, I'm sitting on a bed in the video, and Jesse enters the room, and he begins to remove the mattress from the bed frame while I'm sitting on top of the mattress. And I'm telling him, if you hurt me, you can be arrested. And Jesse responds, no, I can't. And he proceeds to rip that mattress out from under me, which causes me to land on the wooden slats. And momentarily, the mattress was on top of me, which felt like 100-ish pounds. It felt heavy, while he was still removing it. So this is, I had hit record on the phone, but that's a portion of the incident that I published last year during his campaign for reelection. But in my opinion, that's battery. Obviously, I didn't go to the police at the time. And a lot of victims who experience things, they don't. And you have to remember the way that it would have been perceived as a scandal, right? Because there's a campaign going on. By the way, this happened in Henderson. Carrie Buck was his opponent. Well, Carrie Buck's husband works at the Henderson Police Department. And, it just complicated things. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. I'm just saying it wasn't an easy situation to navigate.
Sure.
And a lot of people have similar difficulties navigating domestic violence and battery situations.
Agree. I talk about that all the time. I can't stand it when somebody says, oh, well, she didn't report it right away, so it must not have happened. There are all sorts of, I think we'll agree, there are all sorts of different scenarios why certain people don't report something sometimes ever or years later. I mean, Bill Cosby is an example that comes to mind for me. So just because somebody doesn't report it right away or doesn't report it at all doesn't mean it didn't happen. I think we all could agree on that. It's the single
most unreported crime.
Right.
It's happening every day in our society and going unpunished. And it's time that we collectively address that. And I'm telling you, we have Joe Lombardo at the helm. He's the de facto leader of our party and the state. We have Michael McDonald at the helm of the GOP. Those are both previous Metro employees, law enforcement. We have Carrie Buck, her husband, also law enforcement. These are our political leaders in the Republican Party. And it's time for us to address it. it should be a felony to commit an act of violence, period.
Yeah, I completely agree with you 150%. Do you think he should step down? Do you think Jesse Law should just step aside? Obviously, he's running for office. What do you think he should do here? Do you think what do you think the Republican, you're a staunch Republican, what do you think the Republican Party should tell him? Leadership.
Right. So here's the thing. Let me correct one thing. I don't think he's still running because the person who's the incumbent in that seat, I think he was running for Heidi Kasama's seat.
Okay. Yep.
So he actually realized that she was probably going to beat him because she's way more popular. So we don't have that problem. But I do think he should step down. I don't think he should have been reelected. I think there's a scandal with the shareholders with Vinco Ventures. Those are lawsuits he's involved in as a board of director there. There's the elector plot that you previously referenced. There's now these charges, and whether they pursue the charges or not doesn't change the cloud that hangs over him as a leader. And just last week, I wrote in Nevada News and Views, Rhonda Kennedy, a candidate, got into an internet spat with him. She's running for Senate. One of the
she's gotten into internet spats with me as well. So
everyone has, but she came out, and she called for his resignation based on his inability to lead. Right, wrong, or indifferent, this is what's happening.
Right, right, of course.
So I think that Jesse, we could have better leadership, and that was my point last year. Yeah. And so, we're facing it again. Right. He should step down because he's not the best thing for Clark Republican.
Well, this is an embarrassment. Let's just call it for what it is. This is an embarrassment. I want to ask you a question in a general sense, right? I talk about this a lot on the show. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. When you preach something, and I'm going to ask this in a very general way, if I can, let's just say somebody is very anti-gay. Somebody is very anti-gay marriage, right? They preach that it's a sin, and and they're a very religious person. I think you know where I'm going with this. And then they're spotted in pictures kissing a man, which, by the way, I don't have a problem with. It's not my thing, but I don't have a problem with it. And grinding up against a dude. And if this is the same person who speaks negatively about homosexuality, wouldn't it be fair? I mean, I would call that person a hypocrite. And I think there are a lot of hypocrites in politics today. Is that fair to say?
I would make a more nuanced point and say that, I'm not here to speculate on anybody's sexuality, but at the same time, when people adhere to a religion, they may do things that they also believe are sins, such as drinking in some religions. They may believe it's a sin and it still be an act that they engage in. So if Jesse's asked to step down, we're not ousting him as based on any type of allegation.
Right.
And so I think if we're talking about compulsory heterosexuality, as a societal norm, and or people trying to adhere to their religions while having a preference conflict, I think that's a wider discussion. And I absolutely don't have anything to say to speculate on that right now. But
Gotcha. Okay, so let me go back to this domestic violence, which is obviously way more important. I think we would agree on that. You had a relationship with this guy. You put out the video of that mattress incident. And by the way, I agree with you. That is battery, what he did to you, and it could cause physical harm to you. Were there any other instances when you were in a relationship with him that are not on video that you could speak of?
So there is one, and I only talk about things that I have evidence to talk about, to back it up. So there's a series of text messages that have been published. And the topic of that is an instance where I walked into a room. Jesse told me nobody is safe. Nobody is safe is the direct quote. And I backed out of the room. And then later I was yelled at for giving him the silent treatment. So this is a gaslighting behavior. But more importantly, when somebody makes a threat such as nobody is safe, they're warning you. They're telling you, I might harm you and it's going to be your fault because you didn't take the warning, right? So what I need you to remember about this situation is that me and Jesse are both parents. So there's also children to be concerned with. So this isn't just my safety. If nobody's safe, then nobody's safe. So
Right.
these are statements that Jesse made that I've put forward to show people this is not a stable person. This isn't somebody we can entrust in leadership. And this isn't even somebody that I'm comfortable having children around because, hey, nobody's safe.
Well, that's saying something when you say you somebody that you've had a relationship with and you don't even want your children around that person. And guess what? That person sadly has been in a leadership position, as you know, as the Clark County chair, representing Republicans. So this is not a good situation. I know we don't have all the evidence, right, in this charge that was put up, but based on what you know about him, and you know him very, very well, better than most, you said you were not surprised. So what happens here if there is a guilty plea or if he's found guilty? Do you think people like that should ever have a spot in political life, whether it be an assembly person or running for mayor or running for anything or the Clark County chair? If you are convicted of domestic battery, should you ever be allowed to run for office? I guess that's my question.
I don't know, because I don't want to pretend that people are beyond redemption. In the immediately, no. But if this is something they did a really long time in their past, and people grow, and that's the whole point of having the criminal justice system, is that we want to produce better people and put them back in society. So I don't want to make that type of general statement, but it's not a good look, and it would be a rare exception, maybe something along those lines. I want people to be reformed.
Sure, of course, as do I.
And I want to say something on behalf of potential victim in this case. When I came out and told people what I've revealed about Jesse, they told me weeks in advance they were going to kind of martyr me and paint me as a woman scorned. And that was going to be their campaign rebuttal. I was just told through the grapevine, this is what you're going to face. And so now we have a potential victim, and people are going to make statements, and I just want to let you know that, like, victim, we don't want to intimidate a victim. We don't want to put them through all the scrutiny, and you need to be very careful with how a lot of people in our party are characterizing somebody who we don't know what the situation was, but like, let's have some grace for that. So I just wanted to say that, because I do think people are going to rush to Jesse's aid, and in doing so, their automatic defense is going to be attack the potential victim. And I would hate to see that, because this is why people don't testify too. They can be easily intimidated. Right. We're talking about people in powerful positions.
And I'll give you two completely different scenarios, right? And I think we'll agree on this. At least I hope we will. Jussie Smollett. I believed when I first heard the story that he was a victim, because normal human beings don't do what Jussie Smollett did. Now, he's a scumbag. Okay. What he did in staging the fact that he was a victim hurts real victims, right? Scumbag. But I believed him from the beginning. It's why I still believe E. Jean Carroll. And we don't need to get into that conversation, with you, but I tend to believe victims, right? Unless they're proven to be liars. Jussie Smollett is proven to be a liar, right? He's no victim. And I think it's important and I think we'll agree, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I don't care. When there's a victim that comes forward, I tend to believe the victim first. Let's see where the evidence falls where it may, but we also have to look at the history of that individual. In this case, Jesse Law, right? You told the story about what happened to you. This is obviously not a guy who's, he has some anger issues, some mental issues, whatever the case may be. I'm not a psychologist, but this is a guy who has a history. And this isn't the first time he's allegedly broken the law either. So I agree with you. I think it's important to believe the victims, never shame a victim. We see that in politics every day, shaming a victim who comes forward, which is a very, very difficult thing to do. Forget about even the Jesse Law situation. Somebody like a former president, a current president, somebody in a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It's always difficult for victims to come forward, and I sympathize with them. And that's why I always tend to believe the victims and then let the chips fall where they may in a courtroom. You agree with that?
Everybody should be met with, healthy scrutiny, and I don't I don't have an automatic believe victims mentality. What I do have is the didn't happens are sure starting to stack up. So I think, when weighing evidence, you can be persuaded by what you can see and what your past experiences are. And I'll say that much.
Gotcha. Okay, last question. If you had an opportunity to talk to Jesse Law right now, behind closed doors, what would you say to him?
I would just ask him to resign and on a personal note, to seek some sort of treatment and help, because if he's struggling and he's having these erratic relationships, there's obviously children. He has 3 kids, and so like if we can get Jesse help, that's better for everybody involved. So my heart goes out to anybody who's having an issue and not receiving the care that they need.
No doubt. Before I let you go, how can people follow you on social media and read your articles? I know you recently just wrote an article about O.J. Simpson. I talked about him, obviously, on the show. How can people follow you and follow your articles?
At Brutal Britney 2 on Twitter. And then I write for Red State, so redstate.com or at Red State on Twitter. And,
Brittany,
thanks for having me.
Sure. I appreciate you coming on and talking about a difficult topic. And I'm sorry some of those things happened to you. Nobody deserves that. You certainly don't deserve that treatment. And I appreciate you coming on and talking about this. It's a very tough subject, but an important one. And thank you for your time, Brittany. I appreciate that.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, Britney Sheen, everybody. She put out a video of being a victim of, I would call it domestic battery. That's the way she characterized it as, and I would agree with her. This is the Clark County Republican chair. And again, people, Brian, don't make it political. He's the Clark County Republican chair who's just been faced with charges of domestic battery. Where are Republican leaders in the state talking about this? Where are the leaders within the Republican Party that refused to call out Donald Trump for sexual abuse of E. Jean Carroll, proven in a courtroom? The judge characterized it as rape. Oh, there are some. I appreciate Britney coming forward, sharing her story. I appreciate some within the Republican Party that think it's disgusting. How is it that the evangelical right can support a liable sexual abuser? How? And I'm going to talk about this when we come back, because the Republican Party today is in shambles, not just here locally. You have Mike Johnson, who, by the way, in this case, I appreciate it. We'll play the audio when we come back. Mike Johnson talking about why he wants to continue to aid Ukraine, showing some leadership, and then it appears as though he's only going to be another week in there and he's going to be outed as the speaker. Well, he's only lasted 6 months. Then we have this abortion law in Arizona dating back to how many years ago? And like the overwhelming 9 out of 10 people in this country disagree with what Arizona is doing, with no exceptions for rape or incest. The Supreme Court already ruled on it in Arizona. Republicans can't do anything about it now. They tried to. They can't do anything about it. So no exceptions for rape or incest. Even Carrie Lake disagrees with it. Donald Trump disagrees with it. Even extreme MAGA Republicans. The bottom line here is that the Republican Party is still behind a liable sexual abuser. Simply put, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing more we can say about that. That's exactly where we're at now as a country. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to play some Mike Johnson audio for you coming back. The audio that I actually would say for the first time, Mike Johnson actually sounds like a real leader. I'll play that for you when we come back. We'll take some phone calls when we come back at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283. Take a quick break. Take your phone calls on the other side. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
And I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council, with a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen. I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign Bot Fun account and stay progressive.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. I invite all of you to check out my YouTube page, subscribe at PTL Radio Show. The Occupy Democrats page, subscribe there. It's only $5 a month. And, of course, my website, my new website, ptlradio.com, where we're getting more and more people signing up every single day, and I appreciate all of you for doing so. We also ask that you support our sponsors and the people that support this show. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones Went out there, had a great lunch the other day. Great food, great atmosphere. The owner celebrated his birthday yesterday. How about 55 years old, Mr. Brian Slopok, and he had it at Denny's where he ordered from the 55 and over menu. So I thought that was quite unique and funny. Jackson's Bar and Grill. Check him out. Flamingo and Jones, and tell him I sent you. We just had Britney Sheen on the show. She had a personal relationship with the Clark County Republican chair, Jesse Law, who's now been charged with domestic violence, domestic battery. Leadership within the Republican Party here locally is a microcosm of leadership, in my opinion, within the Republican Party. Nationally, we have a liable sexual abuser who is the leader of the Republican Party. We have the Clark County Republican chair here who's just been charged with domestic battery. This isn't by accident. Am I saying that Democrats have never committed domestic violence? Of course I would never make a statement like that because it wouldn't be true. But look at the Republican leadership today. I got to start off with Mike Johnson. I am not a Mike Johnson fan. He is an election denier. He wears the Donald Trump knee pads. He's a weirdo. I have very little respect for Mike Johnson, but I will tell you this. He's right on Ukraine. And right-wing lawmakers have been ramping up their threats to remove Mike Johnson for his role after Johnson's supporters pushed him to make it harder to oust him from the speakership. Mike Johnson recently yesterday speaking about that pressure and speaking about his support for Ukraine. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this might be the first time that I've ever agreed with Mike Johnson on anything. But he actually sounds like a leader today. You know why? I'll tell you why. When these so-called Republican leaders know that they're going to be outed, when they know that kissing Donald Trump's ass isn't going to do them any favors anymore, they finally start to act somewhat normal. They finally start to grow a backbone when they know it's going to be over for them. Mike Johnson knows he's probably only going to be the House Speaker for another week. So he finally starts speaking out and showing a small sense of a moral compass. This is Mike Johnson when being asked about his support to the Ukraine. Have a listen to this.
I'm doing here what I believe to be the right thing. I think providing lethal aid to Ukraine right now is critically important. I really do. I really do believe the intel and the briefings that we've gotten that I believe Xi and Vladimir Putin and Iran really are an axis of evil. I think they're in coordination on this. I think that Vladimir Putin would continue to march through Europe if he were allowed. I think he might go to the Balkans next. I think he might have a showdown with Poland or one of our NATO allies. To put it bluntly, I would rather send bullets to Ukraine than American boys. My son is going to begin in the Naval Academy this fall. This is a live fire exercise for me, as it is so many American families. This is not a game. It's not a joke. We can't play politics of this. We have to do the right thing. And I'm going to allow an opportunity for every single member of the House to vote their conscience and their will on this. And I think that's the way this institution is supposed to work. And I'm willing to take personal risk for that because we have to do the right thing, and history will judge us.
He's willing to take personal risk. The only reason why, and by the way, I agree with every word Mike Johnson just said, and I appreciate it. Personal risk. How many Republicans in office today would you say are willing to take personal risk? Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, to name a few, and there are only a few. How many Republicans are not willing to take personal risk? They bow down to Orange Cheeto Jesus. They do and say whatever he tells them to do. Mike Johnson has been one of those people. When it came to the border bill, when it came to the fake electorate scheme, trying to overturn the outcome of a free and fair election. But now, all of a sudden, Mike Johnson is willing to take some personal risk. Well, I'm glad he's doing it now, but it's a little too late because he's going to be outed as the House Speaker in probably a week. And he knows it. And that's why he's willing to take personal risk now. And it's pathetic. But he does happen to be right on this issue. He does happen to be right on aid to Ukraine. If you think we're sending too much over there, fine, let's have that conversation. But he is 100% right with what he just said about Vladimir Putin. 100% right. Why is it that Donald Trump has never spoken like that? Why is it that he would never say the things that Joe Biden has said about Vladimir Putin, an evil dictator? Why has Donald Trump never talked like that? What does Vladimir Putin have on Donald Trump? So the second a Republican shows a little bit of backbone, He's gone. Gone. The Republican Party has outed those that do not support Donald Trump. The Republican Party has outed those who speak out against Donald Trump, those who speak out against anything that I think most human beings would be speaking out against. Could be rape, sexual abuse, lying about the 2020 election, attacks on our democracy. If you're an elected official and you're a Republican today in 2024, you are not going to win elections if you speak truth. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. We're not, notice how I said truth. We're not talking about policy disagreements. We're not talking about attacks on Democrats. We are talking about lies and truth. Lies about election interference in the 2020 election. Lies. If you don't support those lies, you will be outed from the Republican Party. Did you see the Republican National Convention when they were interviewing those who want to be interns and those who want to work within the Republican National Convention and the committee? Those who wanted to work, the interviews, and they were asking them, what are your thoughts on the 2020 election? I guarantee you, if you answer that question by saying, well, Joe Biden won a free and fair election, which he did. If you answer that question, you're not going to work for the RNC. I guarantee you that 150%. They wanted you to answer the question the same way Donald Trump would answer it, which is a lie. Democrats cheated. Joe Biden cheated. He's an illegitimate president. Donald Trump won the election in a landslide. The evidence is overwhelming. Have you watched 2,000 Mules with felon Dinesh D'Souza? That's the way they want you to answer it. And if you don't answer questions that way and you don't bow down to Cheeto Jesus, you're not going to win elections in the Republican Party, or at least it's going to be very difficult for you to do so. That's where the Republican Party is at today. Let's not only condone, but let's support a liable sexual abuser, the judge, again, characterizing it as rape. Let's condone that sort of behavior. And while all this stuff is going on in Arizona, what the Supreme Court in Arizona has done is directly done because of Donald Trump. Directly. Well, Brian, what are you talking about? Very simple. Donald Trump is the one that put these radical Supreme Court justices in place like the Brett Kavanaughs and the Comers. Barrett, excuse me. Donald Trump is responsible for Roe versus Wade being overturned. Yes, I get it. The Supreme Court justices ultimately did it. Donald Trump knew that this was going to happen. And when Brett Kavanaugh and these others were testifying in House chambers, they said, well, I respect the law of the land in Roe versus Wade. No, they knew they were going to overturn it. And when you overturn Roe versus Wade, and when you have right-wing radicals that are on Supreme Courts, could be Arizona or Alabama, this is exactly what happens. We already have most of the country that agrees in a woman's right to choose. Overwhelmingly, even some right-wing radicals believe Arizona went too far, including former President Donald Trump and Kari Lake. Why? Because they know it's bad for the Republican Party. They don't care whether it's bad for women. If that was the case, they would never have wanted Roe versus Wade overturned. They don't care about women. They only care about the Republican Party and their own beliefs. But they don't care about a woman's health care. They don't care. If they had it their way, I guarantee you, abortion would be illegal throughout the country. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Again, that's 702-221-SAVE. We have one phone line open. Let's get right to the phone calls. A lot to talk about. Let's start off with Mark. Mark, you're first up. What's going on, brother?
Hey, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak my piece.
Sure.
There's two things I'd like to mention. The first thing is when you were talking about domestic violence, let's not forget the poster boy, that piece of garbage that's sitting in the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas, who was accused of raping Anita Hill and has been destroying democracy ever since he got on the bench.
You're right. Clarence Thomas is despicable.
Despicable person taking money, grifting, just like that orange orangutan.
His wife is even worse, by the way. How she's not been indicted is beyond me.
And doesn't recuse himself from cases that his wife is involved in.
Yeah, you're right.
The second thing, I agree with you 100% on Mike Johnson. 100. Election denier, poster child for that, everything. But I'm going to give you a heads up here. Don't be so sure that he's going to be ousted as Speaker, because there was some talk on another channel, which I'm not going to mention. They made a lot of sense that the Democrats want to really stick it to Marjorie Taylor Greene and all those other MAGA scum by keeping Johnson and making a back deal with this border stuff. And this is going to really piss off Trump only because Johnson is talking about it.
Right.
He's already out of the graces of Trump.
So you might be
he
right.
has nothing to lose.
So listen, you might be right. That's very possible. I think the point I'm making, is, look, he sees the writing on the wall and he sees there's certainly a good possibility that he could be outed. And now all of a sudden he has a moral compass. Where has Mike Johnson been for years? He's been brown-nosing Donald Trump. He tried to overturn the outcome of a free and fair election. Right. For years, he showed zero moral compass. But now, all of a sudden, he says, geez, you know what? I think I'm going to support what most Democrats support, which is aid to Ukraine. I see the writing on the wall.
That's right.
I'm probably going to lose power. So that's what these Republicans do when they know that they're
losing. Yeah. I'm telling you that there's a backdoor being done here, backdoor deal, and I have a feeling that there are going to be some Democrats who are going to come out and support Johnson, and all they need is a couple, and he stays. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a deal made, because who would the Democrats really like to screw other than them always trying to screw Trump?
Yeah.
That's Marjorie Taylor Greene and the MAGA Republicans.
I will say
that
this.
will really piss them off.
I will say this. If there's ever a backdoor deal that would be done, it would probably be between Mike Pence and Mike Johnson. Sorry, that was a terrible joke, my friend. I apologize for that.
Yes, it was a joke.
I apologize for that immaturity, but I do appreciate you calling.
Thank you,
and
sir.
we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for the phone call. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-SAVE. Let's see. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Nelson. Nelson is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Nelson.
Going on, buddy? How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind, my friend?
You want to know what baffles me?
What's that?
Is that Republicans have claimed about rigging votes, scheming votes to win, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's a laundry list of them getting in trouble for scheming votes, for voter fraud.
Right.
It's truly hypocritical at this point.
Mm-hmm. I use that word a lot on this show, as you know.
I don't know. They talked about putting in new electors to not certify the results. Isn't that, rigging the election, or this thing with the hush money? Well, the thing is, let's call that trial what it really is. That's the election interference case, because he pulled that stunt just weeks before the election and didn't want that to get out.
You're absolutely correct. And, a lot of people, a lot of these right-wingers who support Trump and defend him would say the same thing about Hillary Clinton. We remember, James Comey and that situation with Hillary Clinton with the emails and all that stuff, that probably costed her the election, most likely. If anything, you could call that election interference, but there are other reasons why Hillary lost. But, the bottom line is this isn't the first time Donald Trump made a hush money payment, and it's not the last time. If he was a regular citizen, so be it. Hush money payments are made every day in this country. The reason why this is such an important case is because the election, as you know, was up there in a few weeks, and this is direct election interference. You're having an affair, unprotected sex with a porn star a couple months after Barron is born, and now we're learning about this other affair that Donald Trump had and another hush money payment where he paid another woman who was a playmate $150,000. It's really unbelievable. I don't feel bad for Melania Trump at all because you reap what you sow. But at the same time, anyone who could say this is not election interference when you make a hush money payment, possible campaign finance violations, is crazy.
To be fair to Stormy Daniels, she's never shied away as to who she is, and
that's true
in that regard.
Yep.
But throughout this whole story, and his supporters went after her very hard in the beginning. But here's the thing: Stormy Daniels has told the truth about everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I believe her. The reason why Donald Trump wanted to delay this case is not so his attorneys could get more information to defend him. It's because it's very simple here. He does not want this information to be out there for the public to hear. It's an embarrassment. He's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to his family, and he's a despicable human being.
I do recall this was in the beginning of the story, that I think during that period of time, she took a lie detector test.
Yeah.
And it came back as a match of her telling the truth.
Sure.
So you know what? Listen, he has paid, for other things than paying his fair share of taxes.
No doubt.
And that's a real shame.
Yep.
And it's quite an embarrassment. And that's why this country just needs to move on from this.
Amen. I agree
this
with
individual who has no sense of control,
Well, that's
who
obvious.
isn't allowed to run a business, and yet why should we give him an opportunity to run a country when he can't even run a business for a certain period of time?
Amen, brother. Good call. I appreciate you, and I agree with you. You're 150% correct, and I just don't get it. I don't understand. I never have. Of how any decent human being at this point in 2024, I'm not talking about 4 years ago or 8 years ago, I can't understand how any decent human being with any moral compass, as much as you might dislike Joe Biden, as much as you might not like Democrats and you might not like their policies, how you can look in the mirror and say, Donald Trump has my full support. I just don't understand it. And I have these conversations with people all the time. I just don't get it. And you want to talk about things that Donald Trump is responsible for. Let's talk about things when he was president of the United States. Response to COVID. Don't even get me started there. He turned coronavirus press conferences into political rallies. It's going to be gone by Easter. It's going to go down from 15 cases to 0. Talking about injecting yourself with disinfectant. You want to talk about the debt that he put this country in? Oh, yeah. If you want to blame Joe Biden for every war and everything happening outside this country, then maybe you should put some blame on Donald Trump for COVID. I don't know. He's the toughest on China, right? Yet they released what I would consider, in a sense, a virus bioweapon when Donald Trump was president. But I don't hear Democrats saying this would have never happened under Joe Biden. Coronavirus would have never been created if Joe Biden was president. No, because I don't believe that to be true. But you have people on the other side of the aisle, Hamas would have never attacked Israel if that guy Trump was president. It's absurd, and these people are morons. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kava, who's next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Kava.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind, my friend?
So I just want to address something, and I'm tired of how I say this. Time and time and time again, I'm sick of it. I've had it with you MAGAs out there, especially you, Julie, because I know you're listening. All you do is you call in and you're being annoying. You don't know when to stop asking stupid questions that you know are dumb. And to people who still support Donald Trump, what is wrong with you? If you still support Donald Trump, who's a liable rapist and who's been proven in a court of law, if you still support him, there's something seriously wrong with you. And none of you MAGAs have any kind of evidence against Joe Biden. You can cry, you can accuse him of stuff, but you know good and well Donald Trump is using you. You guys enjoy it. You can cry all you want. None of us care. But I've had it. I'm done. I've had it.
I'm done as well, Cava. Well said, my friend. I'm done as well. And it is and thank you for the call, by the way. It is interesting that there are some people on social media that say I'm parroting other media. There are some people on social media that say, talking points, you're a liberal. Let me be very clear on this. And I have to explain this to my very special MAGA friends almost on a daily basis. Everything and anything that I say on this show are my own personal beliefs. Nobody's paying me to share my political opinions. These are my political opinions. This is the way I think. I try to take both sides of an issue, and for many of you people out there that are claiming this about me, you probably listen to right-wing echo chamber radio. How many liberals does Sean Hannity interview? How many liberals does Mark Levin interview? Or Brian Kilmeade? How many left-wingers out there, or prominent left-wingers, will a Laura Ingraham interview? Almost zero. I interview more Republicans than Democrats. I interview people that I disagree with far more than people that I agree with. Why? Well, number one, I think it's better radio. I think it's more entertaining. Number two, I don't want somebody coming in here that I agree with on everything. I think that's really boring. And number three, I like to challenge people. That's what I do. I like to challenge people. And for anybody out there that says, oh, no, you don't interview people that disagree with you. Oh, okay, well, I guess you haven't been listening to the show. I've had Vivek Ramaswamy on this show. I've had people like Larry Elder on this show. I've had Hogan Gidley, who's worked for Donald Trump for years, on this show. I've had plenty of Donald Trump surrogates. I've had plenty of Republicans come in studio that are running for office locally, running for office nationally. I do it on this show all the time. We've got John Lee, who's a Republican, who's coming in studio next week on Wednesday. In fact, he flipped from Democrat to Republican. He's running against Stephen Horsford. He's coming in studio next week. I just interviewed Dr. Peter McCullough. I disagree with almost everything he stands for when it comes to COVID and the vaccines, but I knew that going into the interview. And I challenged him. You could disagree with me, you could disagree with him, but one thing you can't say about me is I'm in my left-wing echo chamber, or all I do is interview people that agree with me. No, I don't. I debate people every day on this show. Every day. And I interview more people, more Republicans than Democrats, and more people that disagree with me, with my political views, than agree with me. And that's the way I like it. I used to watch Hannity and Combs. Why did I like that show? Because I got two sides of an issue. I had some respect for Alan Combs, and I liked the banter back and forth. I liked Hannity's point of view and Combs' point of view. I used to watch that show religiously. Back when Tucker Carlson was normal, when he wasn't a white supremacist sympathizer, when Crossfire was on, I used to watch that show all the time because you had two different sides. That's what we're missing in this country. It's either you're on one side or the other, right? And 99% of talk radio today is echo chamber, right-wing radio. Some people like to be in their safe space, right? Some people only want to listen to radio hosts that you agree with on everything. You are a pea brain if that's who you are. You are a pea brain. I like to listen to people and I like to debate people that I disagree with. I do it almost every day on this show. What would you say about somebody who is not willing to interview the other side? I'm being serious about this. If you're a right-wing fan, how many liberals does Tucker Carlson interview? Almost none. If you watch Fox News after 5 p.m. or Newsmax or OAN, but let's talk about Fox News or Fox Noise, as I like to call them. Laura Ingraham, when was the last time she interviewed a liberal? When was the last time she interviewed a far-left Democrat, or even a Democrat, really, and not Tulsi Gabbard, she doesn't count. When was the last time she interviewed a true Democrat on her show and a full-on debate? When was the last time Sean Hannity did that? I know he's had Gavin Newsom on a few times. Who else? Now, why is that? Because if you're factually accurate, the answer is almost nobody. That's what we're missing in this country. Political discourse. Being able to disagree and being able to interview people and wanting to interview people that you disagree with. I want to interview people that I disagree with all the time. Occasionally, I'll interview people that agree with me on stuff, and that's okay. But I prefer to interview people that I disagree with. It's better radio. It's better discourse. It's better conversation. And you know what? Maybe we'll reach some sort of agreement on some things. Maybe we won't, and that's okay. But that's the way I like it. How many talk shows in this country do that? How many radio shows, overwhelming majority of them on the right, do that? Now, I can talk locally. I could talk nationally. And on a lot of the left-wing media, they ask Republicans to come on constantly. Constantly. I mean, Jim Jordan has done CNN a few times. He hasn't been on lately. Jake Tapper did a pretty good interview with him, I thought. Back in the day when Donald Trump was running for president, he was doing a lot of CNN and a lot of left-wing outlets. He would never do that today because he doesn't want to be challenged. And many of these people on the far right don't want to be challenged. Some of them are willing to do so, and I give them credit for doing that. I give credit to anybody on either side of the aisle. I've said that Democrats need to go on Fox News. Republicans need to go on CNN. It's better for the country. But a lot of these right-wing talk show hosts and a lot of these right-wing radio hosts don't want that. How many liberals did Rush Limbaugh have when he was alive? Probably the same guests that he has on now. None. It's cowardly. It's pathetic. We should want to hear both sides. If you're a Democrat, you should want to interview a Republican. If you're a Republican, you should want to interview a Democrat. But that's not what happens in the media. That's not what happens today in a lot of media entities, particularly those on the far right. And it's wrong. And it's pathetic. It's sad. We'll take a quick break. And when we come back, the Arizona House abortion law. So what's the latest on that? Some Republicans are walking back their comments that they made years ago, admitting that Arizona went a little bit too far. Well, I've got some bad news for those right-wingers. You reap what you sow. That is the rule of law in Arizona. I'll explain to you what happened when we come back, and we'll also take some phone calls. 702-221-7283. Again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, particularly those on social media that apparently don't have the guts to call into this show, but they're keyboard warriors, and they'll say I'm lying. They'll call me a liberal, just like this guy on InfoWars who did a segment on me the other day. Call me a scumbag, but they don't have the guts to have actual real debate. I'm opening up the phone lines, and now I'm giving you an opportunity to do so. What do you disagree with me on? What have I said that you think is not true? The number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the program, 702-221-7283. And explain to me why a law back in 1864 should be here in stone in 2024. Explain to me not how that is so bad for or good for Republicans, but good for the country. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fun account and stay progressive.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so funny because the people on social media, they're so typical MAGAs. They call me a liar. And then when I say, okay, if you think I'm a liar, tell me what I'm lying about, call into the show and explain to me what exactly I specifically said on the show that's a lie, and they don't call in. Welcome to MAGA world, ladies and gentlemen. You're a liar. Donald Trump's innocent. He won the 2020 election. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a pedophile. Welcome to MAGA World 2024, ladies and gentlemen. But we do have some brave souls that are willing to call in, some that agree, some that disagree. And hey, if you're going to treat me with respect and you're not going to misquote me or misrepresent something that I said, then we could have civil discourse without name calling. I'm happy to do that with you. Just come at me with facts. And don't lie yourself. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I believe we have Steve on the line, who is a Donald Trump supporter. Is that true, Steve?
Yes, I'm a Donald Trump supporter.
Well, I appreciate you calling in. That's a lot more than I can say for others, so I appreciate you doing so. All right, where do I have it wrong, Steve? Give me your take.
Well, you have to forgive me because I just stumbled onto you. I've looked on this Facebook, TikTok thing for a long time. There's a guy, you're in Vegas apparently, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got a great guy out there, Wayne Allen Root, I think his name. You ever heard of him?
Okay, so let me ask you a question about Wayne Allen Root. But let me just ask you a general question. What would you say about somebody that claims Islamics were responsible for the October 1 shooting? What would you say about somebody that claims the Obamas have had gay relationship and has called Michelle Obama a man? What would you say about somebody who peddles pills back during COVID, claiming that he had a cure for COVID, peddling pills, and then had to get a letter from the Attorney General telling him to knock it off? What would you say about somebody who says calling somebody old is just as bad as calling somebody black the N-word? In general terms, Steve, because I'm sure you're a nice guy, what would you say about somebody like that?
Well, it's a little bit for me to digest. I'd have to see the circumstances that you're actually talking about.
There are no circumstances to talk about. That's exactly what Wayne Allen Root tweeted on his social media. And when he did this show and I interviewed him about it, he didn't deny any of it. In fact, he defended it. So there are no circumstances. What would you say about somebody who makes statements like that? Would you characterize them as great?
You know, you're talking about a whole bunch of different things.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm talking about the guy who you just called great, and I just gave you verbatim, basically, of some of his tweets. You called him great, and I'm asking you, do you think that somebody who makes statements like that is great? Islamophobia, homophobia. He's called our vice president a whore on his show. Would you characterize that as great? It's a very simple question.
Those are several different things, dude.
Okay, so let's go one at a time then, since you don't want to answer several different things.
I can't answer every one of them.
Why?
But I'll tell you this much.
Why? Wait, hold on. Why won't you answer?
Let me give you something here. Let me give you something.
Why would I?
Let's start with.
Okay, but you can give me whatever you want, but why won't you answer the question?
I'm trying to answer it, but you're talking, okay, about as far as the Obama's gay thing or whatever. There's a guy who was
There's a
Larry
guy.
Sinclair.
So there's a guy. So you're going to defend that. Okay.
Follow what I'm telling you. Larry Sinclair,
Uh-huh.
you can Google it. You can check it out.
Uh-huh.
A long time ago before Barack Obama became elected, I looked up this guy who said this stuff. Okay,
Right, so
I couldn't get nothing but a wrong thing.
Gotcha.
Then
So-
I seen where he's in front of the media. Can you let me talk out the piece, please?
I'm letting you talk.
So he's in front of the media saying, hey, my issue with Barack Obama is the fact that he's talking about the drug issue, and the drug issue, he was hitting a crack pipe while Larry Sinclair was apparently giving Barack Obama oral satisfaction.
Okay, so let me respond to that. That has not been substantiated by anybody except one person who made that claim. Barack Obama is a happily married man with a wife who I'm sure you probably don't like, and he's a good father and a good husband. So if somebody came out and said that you were gay, that you were performing fellatio on a guy, should I believe that when it hasn't been substantiated, but yet you're going to defend a syndicated radio host for making that claim that is completely unsubstantiated? But okay, we'll agree to disagree on that, Steve. If you think the Obamas are gay, you can go ahead and believe that, and you can characterize the host who said it as great. Do you think calling somebody old is just as bad as calling somebody the N-word? I know you don't like me throwing several things at you at once.
No, it's terrible.
Okay, I'm glad. You characterized that guy as great. I'm glad. I appreciate your honesty of calling that terrible. What about with no evidence to claim that October 1 was done by Islamists? What do you think about that? Is that great? One at a time. We're going one at a time.
It's not, but I want to hear what the exact written or hear the oral statement that he said by electronics.
It was on Twitter. You can look it up if you like and Google the guy that you think is great. You're the one calling him great, not me. So let's move on now. Let me ask you a question now. Let me ask you. Let's move on. I appreciate you answering my questions.
Yeah, you don't let a guy talk much. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, so, sir, I've had you on now for 5 minutes, okay? I've let you talk. It's a radio show. I'm a talk show host. Now, maybe you don't like the questions, but I'm the host, and I'm asking you a question. You're a Donald Trump supporter, and that's fine. How do you look in the mirror? And this is a serious question. How do you look in the mirror or look at your wife and children when you tell them that you support a liable sexual abuser? I'm curious. Nothing funny about that question. Go ahead and please answer.
Stuff on Joe Biden. I'm talking about a nation right now.
Nope. The question was not about Joe Biden. The reason why I'm not letting you talk now because you're dodging my question. So here's what we're going to do, Steve. We're going to ask it again, and I'll give you the floor, and I won't interrupt you so long as you answer. The question was, how do you look in the mirror and tell your wife and kids that you support a liable sexual abuser proven in a courtroom? 26 women have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife in a deposition under oath. How do you look at your wife and your kids in the mirror, telling them that you support a liable sexual abuser? Please answer the question, and that question has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Please answer the question, Steve.
You must have me shut off the whole time when you're running.
I'm giving you an opportunity to answer the question, and you're not answering it. This is now the third time that I'm going to ask you. Please answer the question, sir.
Every little inch of this little problem, don't you?
Sir?
You don't want to talk through turkey.
Okay, so, sir, I noticed how you don't want to answer my question. I've asked it multiple times now, but I'm very patient today, sir. I'm very patient. I've now had you on the phone probably for 7 minutes, and that's 7 minutes of my life I want back. But I'm going to try to ask you one more time. The reason why I'm potting you down, Steve, is because you're not answering my question, right? So I'm going to give you one more opportunity, and guess what? I'll be nice. You can ask me anything you want after you directly answer my question. And you could answer it any way you like. Just answer the question. How do you look at your kids and your wife, and how do you look in the mirror knowing that you support a liable sexual abuser whose own ex-wife accused him of rape in a deposition? How do you look at your kids and your wife knowing that you support that man? Please answer the question.
Are you going to let me speak this time?
Go. You're potted up. Please answer.
Okay. The debate is between two men, basically, okay? And I'm going to weigh out Donald Trump over an idiot, Joe Biden, who walks off the stage.
Didn't ask you about Joe Biden. Didn't ask you. The question wasn't about Joe Biden. You're again going back to Joe Biden. The question wasn't about Joe Biden. It was about Donald Trump. You can give me your opinions about Joe Biden. That's fine. But I can tell you one thing. Joe Biden's never been indicted, never any evidence that he broke the law, and the question wasn't about Joe Biden. So if you could please directly answer the question about Donald Trump, I'd appreciate it. Go ahead, Steve. I'm potting you back up.
What is your name? You're an idiot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the phone call. Appreciate it. You've just proven who the real idiot is because you wouldn't answer the question. Thank you, Steve, for calling in. You sound like a very intelligent guy. By the way, I gave him 5 opportunities to answer the question, and he refused to do so. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Joe. Joe is next. What's up, Joe?
Oh, hey there, Brian. I just thanks for taking my call. I just want you to know I watch your show regularly, and I really appreciate it. I am not a Trump supporter. I am definitely voting for the other guy, if you will.
Gotcha.
But I wanted to mention something that I think, I just recently was reading about, which is really interesting. It's kind of off topic to some of the other things you're talking about, but this whole thing that happened recently when the new RNC folks who are taking over, Laura Trump and the other guy, fired all or asked many RNC workers to resign and reapply for their jobs. And if they didn't if they wanted to reapply, they had to answer some basic questions, one of which, do you believe that the 2020 election was stolen? If they answered no, they were obviously not rehired. But I bring this up because clearly MAGA is in control of the Republican Party, very much in control of the RNC at this point. And this, though, is going to leave the RNC in a very interesting position because they have lost many staffers there. Mm-hmm. And, it's as though their only focus is Donald Trump, but they don't recognize that there's down ballot candidates that are losing support, have the RNC support for their campaigns because all the money and the focus is on Donald Trump. And so I just think it's really interesting to see how this is going to play out come November.
I'm going to tell you, I think there's a lot of questions about how things are going to play out before November. I think in our in our lifetime, this is going to be the most interesting 5 or 6 months of politics that I think we've ever seen. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, my friend, but I appreciate you calling in, and you're absolutely right. And you bring up some good points there. The RNC is in some trouble. I think we all could probably agree on that one. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And again, that number, 702-221-7283. Uh-oh. We got Julie calling in. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Brian. How you doing? I'm going to respond for the guy that you asking how he can look in the mirror after knowing that Trump was accused of sexual
He wasn't accused.
abuse, right?
He wasn't accused. He was found liable of sexual battery in a court of law. That's not an accusation anymore. He's found liable.
Okay, he was found liable according to Carol.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't found liable according to Carol. He was found liable according to
No. Let me talk.
Okay, but
according to Carol.
No, it's
she
not.
Claims,
it's not according
to Carol. She claims. Listen to what I'm saying. According to Carol, she claimed that she entered a female store to help Donald Trump to buy a lingerie.
And your point, we don't have to re-go through the entire case. He was found liable by a jury.
You don't go with a man.
It doesn't matter, Julie. Hey, Julie. Listen to this. This is very important. You can think all you want that E. Jean Carroll is lying. But the bottom line here, and these are facts, you can have your opinion. That's fine. The facts are that a jury of Donald Trump's peers found that there was enough evidence to find him liable for sexual abuse. So I am not going to go through the case with you again. The fact of the matter is that he was found liable. So
I have a question for you.
Please, go ahead and ask.
How do you look in the mirror and you support a man who in public caught in camera sniff children and touch
Not true.
women inappropriately because
Not true.
You know that
Not true.
Biden.
Sure. Are you going to let me? Are you going to let me answer? Are you going to let me answer? Are you going to let me answer? Are you going to let me answer and stop talking? You just asked.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. It's so nice of you. So first of all, nothing Joe Biden has done with children or adults rises to the level of being liable for sexual battery. If it was, he would have been in a courtroom. So your question is irrelevant and makes absolutely no sense. Here's what I will tell you. Donald Trump is facing 91 felony counts. He's already been proven liable for sexual abuse. Joe Biden has never been indicted for anything in his entire life. So your question is completely irrelevant. Have a nice day, Julie. Sorry you don't like facts. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julian. Julian, what's up?
Oh, hey, that was fast. Hey, just calling in again from Canada. I got to say, the people that you call it, I appreciate your willingness to be so patient with them.
I try.
But sometimes I got to wonder, do they actually believe, or are they just as terrible at lying as Donald Trump is?
I think a lot of them are uneducated. A lot of them don't understand the circumstances surrounding any case involving Donald Trump. And then when you pin them in a corner, like I did with Steve, they won't answer a question. They cannot answer a question directly. And if you ask them about Donald Trump's sexcapades or sexual abuse, they'll say, well, Joe Biden sniffs kids. I mean, you can't have conversations with these people. I try, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Which one disturbs you more? The ones who refuse to answer the question, or the ones who actually do try to justify this man's criminal acts?
That's a good question. I think they're both bad. I think the latter is probably worse when they try to justify it, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah. See, that's what I've been thinking. I think on some level, the ones who don't want to answer the question know on some level that they are wrong, and they're just too scared to admit it.
I agree. You know what? I agree with you 150%, my man. And you make a really good point there. And I appreciate your phone call. I got to get to some of these other callers. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Patrick.
Hello, Brian. Hey, man, I'm curious. With Biden being the most popular president in history with 81 million votes, this go around, since we don't have COVID, what's going to be the excuse when nobody shows up to the rallies? Because right now he's only having private events to a few people, and fewer showing up.
Sure.
And it looks like
so I'll answer that. Sure, I'll answer that. So first of all, people like you put a lot of credibility to how many people are at a rally. Let me be very clear. Patrick, when you say something, you have to give me an opportunity to answer it without interrupting. And by the way, you're the same guy who insulted the looks of my co-host, so I think we all know.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. I can play it back. Yes, you did.
She was wearing clown glasses.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
You made it about
I
her
don't
appearance.
care, and nobody else cares about what you think about appearance on anybody, okay? You're a supporter of Orange Man. Okay. Now I will respond to what you just said. People like you say, look at all the people that were at the rallies for Donald Trump back in 2020. You're telling me he didn't win? You see, the Electoral College and voting is not directly correlated at all. There's no science to how many people show up at a rally. I don't go to rallies. I don't go to Joe Biden rallies. But guess what? I'm going to be going to the polls in November and voting for Joe Biden. I don't go to a lot of political rallies because I don't care for them. And there's a lot of people like me, Patrick. Now, you can go with your $60 Bibles, decked out in all your MAGA gear, show up to all your Donald Trump rallies all you want, and that's great. That's fine, Patrick. It's a free country. You can do that if you want to. But the idea that because Donald Trump is getting larger crowds at rallies, that there must be more support for him. Hey, Patrick, let me give you some facts, okay, buddy? I know you love facts, right, Patrick, even though you can't spell the word. Donald Trump lost the popular vote in 2016. He badly lost the popular vote in 2020, and he will lose the popular vote in 2024. Would you like to make a bet with me, Patrick, about the popular vote, since you seem to think that more would you? Don't Brian me. Would you like to make a bet?
People don't campaign to win the popular vote. They win to win the election.
You are making, I agree, and you are making the claim that because all these people are showing up at Donald Trump's rallies, that he must have more support than Joe Biden. And I am telling you the popular vote will speak otherwise. Would you like to make a wager with me right now on the air that I guarantee you Joe Biden gets more votes, popular vote, than Donald Trump? Would you like to do that? Yes or no?
Who is campaigning to win the popular vote?
Okay. You're the one who called into this show that said, bragging about all the people that are showing up at Donald Trump rallies, meaning you're trying to say on the air, tell me if I'm mischaracterizing you, you're trying to make the claim that more people in this country support Trump than Biden. Is that the claim that you're making? Hence,
do you remember during the Obama administration
will you,
how much
I'm
enthusiasm
not
there was?
asking
Do you remember during the Bernie Sanders
I'm not
administration
asking
how much
you.
enthusiasm
Patrick,
there was? There's
Patrick,
no enthusiasm
Patrick,
for Joe Biden.
Patrick,
People don't
Patrick.
even look at him when he walks in a room.
Hey,
it's
Patrick.
pathetic.
Hey, Patrick, I guarantee you there's
Hey,
no
Brian.
woman. Hey, I guarantee you there's no woman that's ever looked at you when you've walked into any room your entire life. I guarantee you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We have some special guests coming in studio here in a minute. I got to take a couple more quick calls. Let's go to Cyrus. Cyrus, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. What's on your mind, Cyrus?
Have you spoken about Jesse Law, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, from what I've seen him, I just could not trust him, and it seemed like he was more of like a Michael McDonald guy, and
yeah, I agree.
He's really the elephant in the room. It's just that I know some of my friends who are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
They tell me that Michael McDonald even threatened him.
Yeah.
And they just don't even think he's even part of the whole movement. He's just really in it for himself.
But can I ask you a question? Because I agree with you. Let me ask you a question, if I may.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me that this is kind of a microcosm of where the entire Republican Party is at today, where you have a guy who, is anti-gay marriage, and then he's seen making out with another dude, and then you have a guy who's in a fake electorate scheme, allegedly, and he's already been indicted for that, and now he's been arrested for domestic violence. I just feel like this is a microcosm.
Hypocrisy can heavily work in both sides. There's no question about it. But it's a little off topic. But what do you think about the text message scandal with Justin Jones? Because the media is promoting it.
I'll be honest with you.
I haven't heard.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know a lot about that, and I'll have to look into that. And then do me a quick favor. Give me a call tomorrow.
Sure.
I'll do some research on that. Give me a call tomorrow, and I'll answer that for you. Does that sound good, my man? Because I'm up against the clock, brother.
Cool beans. Thanks.
I appreciate you for calling in, Cyrus. Call back again tomorrow. All right, I know we got a lot of other people on hold. I want to get to all your calls. Let me go to one more real quickly, and then we're going to take a break, and then I'll take some other calls on the other side with our special guests that are going to be coming in. Vivian, what's going on?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for calling in, Vivian. What you got for me?
Okay, I wanted to know how you feel about this new grift that he has going on, where he sent out that letter to the Republicans telling them that anybody who uses his name, image, or likeness has to pay him 5% of the money that they make.
I heard about that. That's a really good question, Vivian. I'm glad you brought that up because Trump did do that, and I think there's partially because he's having financial problems, and he's trying to take advantage of anybody that uses his name possibly for an endorsement. I think it's pathetic. It's disgusting. No president in the history has ever made a statement like that before, in my opinion. And again, I think it goes to show you that he's a grifter and he's looking for money and he's struggling for funds. That's what I think.
It's disgusting. I just don't get why people are still on the fence. What is there to be on the fence about? The guy's a crook.
He is, and he's selling $60 Bibles. He's selling $400 sneakers. He's more than a crook. He's a liable rapist. He's a despicable human being. And then,
I just don't get it. I
well,
really
there's
don't.
people. You hear people that call in, Vivian. You hear people that call in,
Yeah.
and I try to ask them. Listen, if they don't have a problem with sexual assault, or if they think Donald Trump is an innocent man, okay, well, they could at least answer the question that way. I'll disagree with them.
Correct.
They
Mhm.
won't even answer the question. They'll say, well, what about Joe Biden? I mean, they're so embarrassed and shamed by who they support. They won't even answer the question because they know it makes them look terrible.
It does,
Yeah.
very much so.
Vivian, it's good
All
to
right,
hear
Brian,
from you.
I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you,
Excuse-
Vivian. Great to hear from
No
you,
problem.
Vivian. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and we have two young people that are very involved in the political spectrum here locally that are going to be joining us in studio, and we'll be joined by them next, and I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with the Hunter Kane campaign. So looking forward to this conversation. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Kelb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fun account and stay progressive.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note tomorrow on the show. A pastor, a right-wing evangelical, now turned OnlyFans model, and life coach Nicole Mitchell will be joining us. Always fun to be joined by her. Check out my good friends at Jackson's Bar Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Of course, great food, great specials, great gaming, great everything. It's my favorite gaming bar in town. Trust me, you go there, you won't be disappointed. Please tell them I sent you. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. So, have all sorts of different people in studio, and I love talking to younger people that are invited, that are involved in politics. And I say younger people because I'm very old. I just turned 44 the other day. I'm like, what happened to my 30s? But we have two very special people in studio. So as you know, they both are. Hunter Kane is a big part of the show. He's somebody who is obviously running for office. He's somebody who served this country honorably. He's fostered over 30 kids. I mean, he's an incredible man. And I've endorsed him, not because I'm getting paid to endorse somebody, because I don't do that. I'm endorsing him because he's a hero and he's a good man. And he's the type of person that I want representing me. And two people in studio right now are working with him, starting with his son, James Kane. He's 23 years old. He's the deputy campaign manager for Elect Hunter Kane. He's the eldest and first adopted son of Hunter Kane, and he joins us in studio. And also joining us is Christian Solomon. He's 25 years old, and he is the campaign manager for elect Hunter Kane as well, and the former party affairs coordinator for the Clark County Democratic Party. Gentlemen, James, Christian, thank you so much for being here. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
You're in the lobby, and this happens all the time where I get people that are like, "Oh my God, what am I getting myself into?" Because Brian's screaming at some of his callers. But this is like a norm for me, so I hope that didn't scare you at all. But anyway, I appreciate both of you guys being here. All right, so we're seeing more and more of this. Younger people that are involved in campaigns, younger people that are more involved in politics, I think now more than ever before, at least since I've been alive. Why do you guys think that is?
Me? You?
I'll let you start. Yeah, I mean, from what I'm seeing and the kind of work that I'm in, seeing folks in my fellow generation struggle and trying to make it out there. Gen Zers right now are really hustling. We're the generation that saw our parents struggle during the recession, and then on the verge of adulthood, there's a pandemic with similar effects, right? And so, there's a sense of urgency being built among this generation, and which I'm proud of. I see it within I think we did the numbers. The average age of our staff is like 22.
Wow.
And so being on the older end of Gen Z, because I do get made fun of it. I mean, this is what politics does. But that's one of the great things about being part of this work is you can see younger people and nurture that into political campaigning and operations. So go ahead, James.
Yeah, no. I guess one of the main reasons that I hear from a lot of my friends as to why they're so much more involved and why they're more aware is because of the housing crisis and because of the and because the jobs are not, the jobs they want are requiring experience that they not only can't afford but just isn't actually applicable to the work they're doing, if that makes sense. So a lot of jobs, like even McDonald's, is requiring bachelor degrees now, and that doesn't make sense to me. Why, if I'm out of high school, why do I require a college degree to flip burgers? Why am I competing with high schoolers?
Interesting. Yeah, and that's important. You hear a lot of people in general, not just younger people, but people in general, they say, what are the big issues, right, that people are looking at? The economy, the abortion issue is a big issue.
Yeah,
usually that's number two. But at your ages, 25 and 23, which is pathetic because my age is almost combined both of your age. Like I said, I'm old. But what would you say is the most important issue for both of you, being in your early to mid 20s? Voting issue. What's the biggest issue that you say is my number one?
I have a hodgepodge of issues. I've been very vocal about my staunch support for the president, even as a Gen Zer, and I understand that most people my age find that difficult right now because of a varying amount of issues, to include the war going on right now in the Middle East.
Right.
And so, I look at it this way, as someone who's benefited from this work and sees the work in student loan debt cancellation being one that's very important to me. Food insecurity for our students. We have students that are homeless. And when the mentality of an ultra right wing establishment tells you, oh, you're all just a bunch of students that are going to be, wearing your varsity letters and drinking and having parties all the time. I don't see that. We see student veterans struggling to get access to certain resources. We see student starvation on campus, and
that's horrible.
Yeah, it's running rampant, and we need that hand up to help encourage us to think long term, which is why I'd like to talk about Social Security.
Yeah, and you're part of the Gen Z Social Security program, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so with Social Security, we see a lot of these traditional legacy candidates in the GOP talking about raising the retirement age, and we wonder why when we see folks that are struggling, that are in their elder age, and they are pensioners, they're very clearly pensioners, not being able to afford a pizza at a restaurant, is that my future? Is that what my country has in store for me? Perpetual work and struggle, and so strengthening those protections ironclad for our seniors right now, while also bringing up, I hope this conversation yields more discussion about universal basic income programs for students. As we see experiments across the country in Stockton doing pilot programs for universal basic income, basically giving $500 stipends to targeted amounts of citizens.
And Chris, do you believe, though, that there are people on the right that want to abolish Social Security? Like Mike Lee said it, right? There are several Republicans in office right now that want to get rid of it. You would agree with me on that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous that we still have dark forces waking up nights trying to make sure that widows don't eat.
It's
It's
insanity.
insane.
How could we have students that are homeless? I mean, I don't know. It's amazing to me. Would you say the same, James? I mean, it's absurd to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It just doesn't really make any sense either.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And when somebody says it, I believe they mean it. Like when Mike Lee says that in a crowd, and by the way, he didn't know he was being recorded. He said he wanted to get rid of Social Security. I think they mean it. I really do. I wanted to ask you this, James, as well, because you're involved in the St. Jude Ranch for Children. Can you tell people a little bit about what that is and what that's all about?
Oh yeah, so I'm sure many of you are familiar with St. Jude's.
Sure, they do great work.
Yeah,
Save lives.
absolutely.
Yep.
So they have a separate program called their sibling preservation program, and basically what it does is they take foster youth who are separated from their siblings and through care throughout the country, and they do monthly events at different places. So, for example, they'll go and they'll rent out an area where you'll learn how to 3D print, get to 3D print your own stuff, as well as, playing a bunch of video games and then going outside to play athletics and then eating. And, you spend the day with your sibling, do those once a month, and they do different things. And then during the summer, they have what they call Camp to Belong, and it's a 5-day period where we go up to California, we go to the mountains, and we're at a camp with our siblings for 5 full days. We're camping,
How cool
bunking.
is that? That's so cool. And
Yeah.
it's amazing because what you guys are doing at your age, like I couldn't even tie my shoes, man. And you're a campaign manager. You've worked with other candidates. You're so involved and you're so in tune with both of you with what's going on politically in this political climate that you guys have been raised in a very weird time that we are living in right now. Okay, I've been covering politics for a while. These are very tumultuous times. Here's a loaded question for both of you. What's going to be happening here in the next 5 months? Are you worried? Are you concerned? What is your feeling on a national and local level?
I think what we're highlighting here in Nevada is that with Gen Zers that identify as Democrat or Republican or nonpartisan are coming together on the issues that we just collectively agree on as a generation. I mean, we are the ones that are being very responsive to the climate program. I mean, the climate crisis. We're very, interested in policies that counteract that. We're interested on all of the poverty issues that come in place with growing up right now and being a working professional. And so I think that synthesis is going to drive through in a very progressive way, believe it or not. Little p progressive, but I think, based upon the unity of those different flags and those people across the spectrum, I think we all can within the next 5 months, you're going to see a collective effort for energy outside of just boxed party lines.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree with that 100%. I am more of a that's a very realistic and optimistic view, I'd say. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say what's going to happen in a week. 5 months is it's not a very long time, but it's enough time to where right now the biggest concerns in my life are maintaining my job and maintaining my rent and making sure I have food in my belly and that mine are taken care of.
Sure.
And so it makes it incredibly difficult to even think in past, a month and a half when I have to live paycheck to paycheck.
Sure.
Survival.
Absolutely. So these are local issues, national issues. Let me talk about some local issues that have been turned into national issues. The Republican chair, Mike McDonald, Jesse Law, indicted on a fake electorate scheme. Jesse Law, I just had a woman on the show first segment who has video evidence that he assaulted her. At least it was a domestic battery situation. And now he has been arrested on domestic battery charge. This is the leader of the Republicans in Clark County. We're not talking about some random person here. That would be bad enough. This is the leader of the Republican Party in Clark County and the leader of the state of Nevada in the Republican Party. I mean, I laugh at it too because it's so ridiculous. What do you make of these people?
I just say thank you for doing half the work for us because when I look at that and you see a lot of disaffected young people within the GOP sphere, they are sick and tired of having a party that is just so chaotic and circus-like that it excludes their ability to start making meaningful change and sharing their stories about the issues that they care about. Because, I mean, and this is the Gen Z version of Crossfire. Okay, like we don't agree on everything, but you know that's
very fair.
the beginning of the consensus building starts with us, and
Yeah.
and like if we look at that and say thank you, you know, we are going to make sure we organize around support. You know, making sure that those folks that
Sure.
yeah, I mean, like thank you.
Sure.
for doing
Okay,
the work.
James. So you're you're a Republican, right?
Well, I'm a registered Democrat right now, but I would call myself a nonpartisan, but I lean more.
Okay. So you're you would say moderate Republican.
Yes.
What do you make of Donald Trump?
Oh.
Loaded question.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Donald Trump or anyone who is extremely Trumpist is a good representation of a good Republican.
So you would say like a Reagan Republican would be more of a representation of.
To be honest,
old
yeah,
school
I was
Republican,
thinking
yeah.
even as recently as McCain.
I've had a lot of respect. I always have for somebody. You know what I think was the best moment in my lifetime politically, and you guys will remember. I think you guys know the moment I'm going to be talking about, where an elderly lady takes the microphone and calls Obama a terrorist, calls him a Muslim terrorist, I believe, Hussein Obama. And John McCain takes that microphone away and says, "No, ma'am. Barack Obama is a decent man. We just disagree politically." That would never happen today. Donald Trump would never do that.
Nope.
I agree with you. I have a lot of respect for his service to this country, as I do with Hunter Cain, obviously your father and who you represent. And Hunter's a wonderful man. And when Trump calls people like Hunter Cain suckers and losers, right?
No, yeah, it hurts. It's like, how can you stand there, you know, with no service to your name and like bash on people who gave life, limb, eyesight for this country?
Yeah, I'm with you. But when people would ask me, guys, like 10, 15 years ago, what do Republicans stand for? I think I had a pretty good understanding.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Republicans stand for today. Drag queen reading is bad.
Yeah.
Let's give more people guns. Gay marriage is terrible. If you're gay, you're a sinner. Let's ban books. Let's just bash Joe Biden and anybody that disagrees with us. Let's call them a pedophile. Like, I don't know where the Republican Party stands for today.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Do you guys know? I have no idea.
It's hard to know when the party itself doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, like they're competing with conservative think tanks in this country that have rolled out their very scary Project 2025 agenda.
Yeah.
And when you look at the detailed information of everything that's in there, between culture warrior stuff like getting rid of diversity, equity, inclusion programs, getting rid of, you know, like history being taught, and like even just erasing any opportunity for any young person to just comfortably exist, right? Considering. It's ridiculous. So they're showing us their stripes, and it's crazy that we have to get to this point. But I'm glad that in all of this there are moderate voices that we can collaborate with.
And there are good Republicans out there and good people. Amy Tarkanian is the former state chair.
Yeah.
Okay, she's a friend of mine. She does this show a lot. She's a good person. She voted for Donald Trump. She was a big Donald Trump supporter, not anymore, because, you know, if you don't know who Donald Trump is now, you're never going to know.
Yep.
And there are people that have, you know, at least called out his rhetoric and his horrible behavior. The Chris Christie's of the world, the Mitt Romneys of the world, the Liz Cheneys, who I don't agree with on almost anything policy-wise, but I respect her because she decided my power in office is not as important as what's right and what's wrong. And I appreciate all those people that call that out. Do you guys believe that, even though, you know, you're a moderate guy, but do you believe that the choice is, let's be honest, the choice is for the presidency, Joe Biden versus Trump. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has no chance to win. I don't take his presidency serious. I really don't. Do you believe there's going to be enough young people in this country that are going to say, you know what, even though I'm a Republican, even though I don't like Joe Biden, don't agree with Democrat policies, I can't vote for this guy, Donald Trump. Are there enough young people in this country that are going to do that in November? I don't know.
It's hard to say. I mean, for me, it's split. Half of my friends are either Republican and gonna vote for Trump or Republican and gonna vote for Joe. And the other half are Democrats who are gonna vote for Joe or Democrats who are gonna vote for Biden. It's just, it seems as if all of their opinions since 2016 like flipped on both of them.
So you do know some younger people that voted for Biden in 2020 that say they're going to vote for Trump in 2024.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow, I would love to talk to those people and find out why, you know, because I don't understand. I'm confused by that. What do they say to you? Why?
Oh, I mean, it's never, when it comes down to it, it's never about policy, really. It's always just about the media smear that they've heard most recently.
That's dangerous, isn't it?
Super dangerous.
It is dangerous. Misinformation, right? Um, and I like to talk to them about policy, right? Because if they say Donald Trump did all these wonderful things, I'd like to ask them what he did. And when people ask me, I always give them, Chips and Science Act. I will talk about, the infrastructure bill. I will talk about at least more gun control being put on the books. The fact we have the lowest unemployment rate we've had in 50 years. And if they give you the excuse it's because of COVID, you could tell them that right now the unemployment is lower than it was before COVID. We can talk to them about inflation, about how the prices have been continuing to go down. Gas prices have been continuing to go down, job growth way up. And I could give them, a number of different things. And then when I ask them, about the policies of Donald Trump, who, by the way, put us in way more debt than Obama did in 8 years, they just don't seem to come up with anything fact-based, I find, at least from that side, right? Do you find that as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I with a lot of the youth that I work with, I'm starting to see a lot of nonpartisan progressive or like nonpartisan libertarian type youth. I haven't found any loyalists in a way to either political candidate or presidential candidate. But what we are seeing is that if you give these students the autonomy to work upon issues in their own communities, and like you provide the fact-based issue advocacy work on Social Security and all of the evidence-based stuff that we could do policy-wise on student loan debt and further stuff, we it's about the education side of it. And with young people that are just getting into this space, you're gonna have to pay them, you're gonna have to train them, and you're gonna have to teach them how to organize. I mean, with like this is typically a luxury just to volunteer for something, right? No, you gotta, like if you expect young people to come in, and a lot of these organizations, they do wonderful work doing youth outreach, but utilize that to create that fact-based army of people that are willing to just share and educate people on policy prescriptions that I think that the president is effectuating in a positive way.
I agree. Well said. It's really hard to talk sense into certain people when all they do is they watch Newsmax and late night Fox News. They're brainwashed.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there aren't those on the far left that might try to do the same thing, but I think it's important to separate fact versus fiction. I mean, I talk about Donald Trump with this hush money case and the fact that he is a liable sexual abuser. That's not my decision. That was a jury's decision. And a response I get is, well, Joe Biden's a pedophile. I mean, it's like, they're not based in reality. And I think that's the problem with politics today, and especially those that are conspiracy theorists, is that they're not based in reality. Talk to me about, listen, if you think Trump did some good things about the economy, whatever, okay, fine, I'm open to that conversation, but you're not going to tell me that he's a good dude, that he cares about this country. You're not going to tell me he's a good father or a good husband, or he cares about going to Barron's high school graduation. I mean, stop it with the nonsense. Let's just tell, the truth of the matter is just a bad guy. And policy is important to me, but being a decent human being is probably more important, because I think if you're a decent human being, you're going to do what's better for the American people, not always what's best for you. And I do believe Joe Biden is a decent human being. Now, people can criticize him. He's too old, whatever the case may be. You don't like some of his policies, fine, but he's not a bad guy, right? He's not a sexual abuser. No. He wouldn't put forth a fake electorate scheme. If he does lose in November, he will leave the White House. Okay, he will concede the way Hillary Clinton did. And those are really important things to me, but it just seems like we're missing that. I want to give you guys the opportunity before we go to talk about Hunter Cain, your dad. Obviously, you're the campaign manager. I had a chance to get to know him over the last several months, and I'm very appreciative. A guy who served this country in 3 different wars. He's fostered over 30 kids.
36.
36. It's unbelievable what this guy's done in his life. And that's exactly the kind of guy that I want representing me, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. I know he's running as a Democrat, but that's not as important to me. I mean, your dad is just an incredible person. And I love the fact that you're involved with his campaign. Just tell me about him a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what you see is what you get, to be very honest. He is just... he really is just a good person. Like, I remember when I first met him originally, I was coming back from camp, actually, Camp 2 Belong, and I met him because my sister wanted me to meet him, and I didn't think anything of it. He literally handed me his business card, as just another foster youth, and I get a call a couple months later, hey, this parent's interested in an adoption. Okay, cool. So I start meeting him, and before I even move into his house, he's literally picking me up from my other foster mom's house and forcing me to go to school because I didn't want to go, and I was just sleeping in. And he was like making me go to school. He's making me learn how to drive, and he was like showing me why it was important. And he did that with all of my siblings, and it's just what he wants to do on a larger scale now.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm going to give you a little tidbit. He's the first guy I've ever gone to an event outside of this radio show and publicly endorsed somebody.
That was
I
so
haven't never done that for anybody. Now on the radio show, I've said, "Hey, I will support you.
Mhm.
I will vote for you." Sure, I've said that, but I've never gone to an event before and spoken, and endorsed somebody. And it's just your father's a hero. He's a hero, and he's somebody that I will vote for. And can you give out that we got about a minute here. Can you give out the information? How do people go to support Hunter Kane? Where do they go if they want to learn more about him?
www.electhunterkane.com, and on all of our socials, it's Elect Hunter Kane. And just use the @ symbol, whatever you got to do.
James,
Kane.
Chris, I appreciate both of your perspectives,
Oh yeah.
and I would love for you guys to come back in again, and maybe we
Absolutely.
could have even a longer conversation, and maybe
Yeah.
next time take some calls.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think that'd be fun, but I appreciate both of you being here. I back Hunter 150%. He's such a great man who served this country and cares about people. He cares about people, and you can see it just by talking to him and just looking into his eyes. He's just a good dude, man, and we hope he wins here. And it starts in June, so we're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens. All right. James and Chris, appreciate both of you guys for being here, representing Hunter Kane and Generation Z. Yeah, Generation Z. I'm Generation Old. That's what I am. But I appreciate both of you guys being here, and I also appreciate Britney Sheen for joining us in the first segment. And, of course, Numchuck. How could I not appreciate him? We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702